What's up, trade crew? Welcome back to HVAC R&D, hosted by Rhydon Atzenhofer. Tonight I have a fellow history buff that also found his way to HVAC joining the show, and I'm excited for this conversation. So let's get it going. Yeah, come on. This episode of HVAC R&D is brought to you by Bosch Home Comfort and Global The Source. Bosch truly is the best bang for your buck product on the market right now, and whether it be their IDS inverter ducted split systems, Climate 5000 mini splits, or their industry-leading water source products, they have your business and your customers' best interests in mind when you combine their products with a great distributor partner and their awesome Bosch Home Comfort Pro dealer program. Don't be scared to check out and try these new inverter products because they are a feature-rich platform that outperforms the competition day in and day out by taking an advanced technology and developing and designing it into a product that is contractor-friendly and homeowner satisfaction focused. Trade crew, did you know that Global The Source offers free training on their game-changing products like the AMRAD turbo capacitors, universal hard start kits, and hung right mounting systems? That's right. All you have to do is click the link in the HVAC R&D vendor hub, fill out the information, and they will get with your local regional sales executive in your market so that they can reach out and schedule some time with you and your team. If you're in the Carolinas, you may just get to learn from my friend Jessica from episode 128, or maybe you're in the Houston, Texas area and you can get to meet the one and only Ashlyn Nolan. No matter whose area you land under, you can rest assured knowing that the team from Global will take care of you and yours. A massive ongoing thank you to Bosch Home Comfort, Insight Partners, and the Moore Sales Corporation for their continued support to stay involved with the 2024 AHR Workforce Development Initiative that HVAC R&D started with Chicago's Prosser Career Academy and High School this past October as we work hard to support the next generation of HVAC professionals. If you're interested in helping the school with me, please let me know. Welcome to HVAC R&D. If this is your first time listening to me, thank you so much for giving me a chance to spend some time with you. I am based in North Carolina, and HVAC R&D is focused on research and development within the trades. My goal is to help foster and build a supportive and collaborative HVAC community by learning from the past and embracing new technological ideas for the future. Make sure to smash that subscribe and like button while you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, whether it be Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, or one of many other platforms. Please go and follow HVAC R&D on Instagram and TikTok at hvac.rnd. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, TradeHounds, and Facebook as the HVAC R&D Podcast. And you can catch new episodes on Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. If you want to work with me, sponsor the show, or find something we can collaborate on, please reach out via the contact link on hvacrnd.com or shoot me an email at hvacrnd@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out the vendor hub for more details on Bosch, Global The Source, and also check out discounts on BetterHelp, Chirp, and Service Titan. Lastly, please make sure to check out Cajun Joe's Bayou Spice and more cool stuff in the HVAC R&D swag shop, and be sure to join the mailing list. So tonight, trade crew, I'm joined by Dennis Ineman, product manager for HVAC tapes and miscellaneous Shurtape Technologies. Sounds kind of like he's the manager of shenanigans if you ask me. But Dennis brings a unique background with a degree in history from Harvard and a UNC Chapel Hill MBA, both of which eventually led him down an unconventional path into the HVAC industry. As a product manager, he oversees Shurtape's line of high-performance HVAC tapes, ensuring they meet the needs of contractors and distributors alike. When he's not working, Dennis is an avid sports fan and fantasy football veteran with a passion for history and spending weekends on Lake Norman. So I'm excited for us to dive into this journey and his expertise today. So Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rhydon. Great to be here.
So, as this show normally rolls out, the first business at hand is, what are we drinking?
Well, beer's been a very important part of my life since growing up in Indiana. My dad was a big fan of fire-brewed Strohs out of Detroit, Michigan. Since I can't find that anymore, I'm sticking with good old Sam Adams and the Oktoberfest. Figured it was timely for our conversation. And I actually have an interesting story about Jim Cook, who started the company. When I was in college, I played a little football and bounced at a local pub, and Jim Cook happened to use our Boathouse bar in Cambridge as one of the first 10 bars that he sold Sam Adams in. Nice. So on more than one occasion, I carried Mr. Cook out to a cab after a long night of drinking on Thursday nights. So it was it's very near and dear to my heart.
So you bounce it on Thirsty Thursday. I like it.
Indeed.
Well, it's been a good bit. It's been a bit, but I'm bringing back a classic hitchhiker to the show.
Nice.
People that listen will know what that is, but a hitchhiker is Modelo in HVAC R&D terms.
Outstanding.
There's a long story to that one too, but I won't bore you with that one because we got a lot to get to tonight.
Fair enough.
So, as I was doing, my research and digging into your background to put these show notes together, I thought it was interesting to see that we were both history majors. Which I'm sure came from the passion of history, and then we realized we probably wouldn't make a lot of money with it, so we kind of did something else. But how did you feel? History kind of helped shape your approach into business, because I found for myself that it really taught me a lot of things about reading, understanding, and developing even a sales process, because I just had to walk through all those different avenues of learning how to do research and build arguments.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, it because I think reading and writing is key to ultimately communicating, which I think is obviously the biggest part of business. Really, and it kind of hammered home the point, too, that we got to learn and grow from our past mistakes and try not to repeat them. So,
well, and that's kind of where the research and development part of HVAC R&D came from. Some of that was a little bit of my thoughts about those same things. But I think you're right. I think truly communicating and written skills and all those things were huge parts of what we got out of our history degree. But we also, that love of history also led us into other pastimes and hobbies. I know you talked about being really into historical fiction.
Yep.
So kind of, what do you like to read now that you've got, the degree on the wall, but now you can just have fun with it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny. I cut my teeth in historical fiction back in the day on the John Jakes Kent Family Chronicles, which is going way back and way before your time.
Sure.
But he was an author that wrote this series kind of commemorating the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, which obviously is also our nation's anniversary. So he wrote a series of novels about a family that basically starts like pre-revolution and then ends in 1890s. So antebellum kind of era, if you will. And that honestly kind of sealed my passion for history, without a doubt. But recently I've kind of been more into, biographies and timepieces and the latest couple of authors, although like David McCullough is an all-time favorite of mine, with a lot of his stuff. But the two I've gotten into in the last year or so are Ron Chernow, who's most known for Hamilton, thanks to Lin-Manuel,
sense.
And then he also wrote a great biography on Washington, which I highly recommend, as well as Grant. Two guys I really didn't know that much about until I dug into him. The thing I dig about Chernow is he writes like a novelist, so it's really very easy to read, and he uses a lot of firsthand accounts of things to kind of shape his story. And the second guy that I've got to mention is this fellow named Eric Larson, who I've read two of his books, and I'm about ready to jump into a third. But the first one I read was called Devil in the White City, which is all about the Chicago
I know where
World's
that's
Fair.
going.
Yeah, in 1896. Yeah, so it's Chicago World's Fair, 1896, and the crazy thing is, so he ties in all the historical stuff, which is fascinating as far as it's the Gilded Age. There's a lot of new technology happening. Industrial Revolution's just heating up. But the story's centered around this guy who's arguably the first serial killer.
I was going to say, does he go around murder castle is what I'm guessing?
Yeah. So, and it's a true story. Yeah. So I highly recommend this book. The guy had a couple of aliases. He was a doctor that had kind of a hotel just down the street from where the fair was held. Mm-hmm. All sorts of craziness ensues, but it's quite a good one. And then because I liked that author, I read Splendid and Vile, which is about Churchill basically keeping England afloat before we got involved in World War II. And what I learned there was just how darn close Europe was to just being completely dominated by Germany.
It was hanging by a thread a lot more than
truly.
people realized.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so now I'm on the shelf right now that I got to dig into is The Demon of Unrest, which is about the Civil War era, which is really my favorite era of American history. So that's kind of where I'm at today. How about you? What are you reading these days?
So honestly, I'll be honest, it has been a good bit since I have sat down and had time to read a book. Really, since I switched jobs a little over a year and a half ago, I've read a little bit of business stuff here and there, but it's been honestly far too long since I've read a book just for the enjoyment of it. I got really into Simon Scarrow, who's a British author. And he writes a historical fiction series centered around a couple of Roman legionnaires. I love Roman history. It was one of my favorite. There was a book called Rubicon. I can't remember who the author was, but it was one of the first books that really got me into digging into Roman history. And then that book kind of just let me explore some of the thoughts and ideas like through someone else's lens, which was nice.
That's awesome.
And then you get to talking about Civil War stuff. My college thesis was about the development of Confederate military doctrine.
Oh, wow.
My great-great-great-grandfather was actually killed in the Civil War when my great-great-grandfather was a year old.
Oh, my gosh.
And our family had a plantation in Virginia.
Okay.
And for the longest time, it was still in the family, and it was actually raised by Union soldiers. And there used to be saber marks all up and down the halls where they rode their horses through the house, chasing people out of the house. Was
it part of the Sherman March, or?
No,
sure
it was
separate?
earlier in the war. It was earlier in the war, so it was kind of some of chasing people through and just trying to kind of harass people to start messing up Southern supply lines.
Yeah.
But really, I dug into a lot of, you talk about firsthand accounts powering a lot of this guy's research. So when I developed my thesis for my senior year, one whole entire section of it was devoted to letters and journals and everything that were from soldiers' perspective, where I could find how they talked about what they would do in training and different things. I read way more than I thought I'd ever have to read to find it all, but it was very, very interesting. And I ended up writing this thing like 3 times past what my minimum was supposed to be, because once I got digging, I just couldn't stop digging.
Well, man, it's personalized then, right? I mean, it's just, that's amazing.
Well, and I found like oral history and personal accounts became kind of my favorite thing in college. I think my other favorite history class was doing oral history, and I did a project on the road to nowhere and the development of Fontana Lake back home in the mountains where I grew up, because that was a part of contention for everything that happened there. And we had what was called the Road to Nowhere, that they finally agreed a government settlement for maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it was like $20 million. It wasn't worth the billions of dollars it took from the town because they never actually finished the road. Wow. But, at least we got a little bit of something.
Well, just real quick, going back to college history, I actually wrote my junior paper that was supposed to become a senior thesis, but I chose to work full-time while going to school full-time and skip that. But I actually wrote on the rise and demise of the Auburn Cord Duesenberg, which was a luxury car manufacturer up in Auburn, Indiana, that my grandfather was the first purchasing agent for. So I kind of, like That's you, awesome. Kind of had a story that was it was a business history, paper. I got to 45 pages, and I look back on it now and still want to finish the darn thing. But my premise going in was that this luxury car manufacturer went out of business in '36 in the middle of the Depression, when in fact they were actually one of the first victims of the Federal Trade Commission that FDR started. Because the head dude was involved in stock manipulation. E.L. Cord was the guy's name, and so he served a little time in white collar prison after that. So it was kind of an interesting little timepiece, and so it was kind of brought me closer to my grandfather, who I never met. He passed away before I was born, but I feel you on trying to find something that's close to home.
Well, and I think that's what makes it personal, and it brings it all home in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think also when I realized that I wasn't going to end up doing something with history, permanently like I thought I was, it was nice to kind of do something that felt good about it. They kind of just let you do what you wanted to do. It's like, well, I'm not really worried about trying to make sure I cover all these bases to get to this next level. This is something I'm really interested in, so this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
I think that's kind of the best part about it, when you get to choose what you want to do.
Exactly. That is the best part.
So
True that.
I know another thing we were going to talk about are some TV things, but before I get into this one question about it, we were talking about Murder Castle. And I can't remember if it's on History Channel. It might be on the History Channel. But I think it's either a 6 or 8 episode docuseries that's all about Murder Castle. But the whole premise is trying to figure out if it's possible that he could have also been Jack the Ripper.
Oh wow. Well,
and
that sounds like
it's very interesting because as crazy as it sounds, the timelines make it very possible that he could have been. More than likely he wasn't. But the timelines paint the picture so well in that series. You're like, oh, he could be. Because they never caught the guy, and he just disappeared.
It's absolutely true.
But the entire period,
the queue now, Rhydon.
I know. So it's interesting. I have to go find it and tell you where it is. But it was a good watch.
Awesome.
But I saw you watched Dark on Netflix. I watched an episode or two of it, but I haven't had time to really dig into a bunch of it. But so far, it was very interesting.
Yeah, it's tough to get into. I mean, it's one of those things where, because it's German, you obviously have to do the subtitles. So kind of like, or have the English translation, which is kind of like an old martial arts movie, but with German people, so it's kind of like, so I just go with subtitles. And the truth is, like, you have to focus. And a lot of times when you're watching, you've got other things that are distracting you. So, I find myself taking a long time to get through it because I rewind just to make sure I caught everything. But yeah, to me, it's just a fascinating story because it kind of mixes two of my favorite genres, which are history and science fiction. And it's a really complex storyline based in this small town in Germany. The story kind of takes place in 2019, and around 4 families, and it kind of starts with this matching kind of deja vu storyline that are 33 years apart. So you kind of go from 2019 to 1986, and then all of a sudden it evolves into this number 33 and 33 years, it becomes kind of an important part. And you go back 132 years from 2019, and then in the future 33 years, and it's just amazing. And it's these core, four families are, just have a lot of things going on that kind of form this town and the dynamic. And I got to tell you, like, I don't know if it's just because I'm old now and I start noticing stuff like this, but the casting director was incredible, because the way she was able to figure out these multi-generational characters, was impressive to me. Like, it was the first time I actually noticed something like that, which I usually don't. So,
well, and I completely agree with the subtitle part too. Because a lot of times if you're watching it, like you said, you get distracted and you don't even catch half the words that are spoken a lot of times. So when you have to truly read it, it's almost like reading a book.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And you're like, oh. It's funny if you're like, I've went back and watched movies with subtitles before just by accident, and then I start realizing, like, that's not what I thought he ever said right there. Okay.
That's right. Totally new perspective when you do it that way, right? Yeah, that's true.
And speaking of German shows, so I watch Barbarians, which is also a German Netflix show, but it's about the Roman Empire trying to conquer Germania. And so it's
you have
really
a broader range, my man.
I'm all over the map.
No, I love it. No, because I think one of the authors you mentioned earlier too writes about it. You said it was about Roman history, and that's it's really, that's an era I'm not that familiar with outside of Gladiator, probably, or just a handful of things. But honestly, that is something I'd be very intrigued to watch, because I'm kind of getting to the point now where, I kind of feel like I've watched most of the things that I'm intrigued by, basically from, I guess, modern history or even just American history on, that it's fascinating to kind of go back and learn about different periods. Truly is.
I also think some of, like, as a kid, I thought Roman history was interesting. I got to go and spend a month in Italy when I was 19. And I just, nice. If I could go find a set of ruins that I could walk to, that's where I was.
That's awesome.
I lost all my pictures from that trip. Unfortunately, my college computer took a crap, for lack of better terms. For lack of better terms. About middle of my sophomore year, without warning, and I was like, gosh, it's like ever since then, extra hard drives and Dropbox have been a part of my life. But no, that sucked. It was so bad. There's so many good photos on there. I was in Italy when they won the World Cup in 2006. That was when I was there. Wow. I played soccer in high school. I was a huge football fan, as I call it.
Right. That's right. I
was a huge football fan. So it was to actually get to experience something like that in a foreign country was a once in a lifetime thing. That was crazy.
Man, that's on my, that is absolutely on my bucket list. Italy is the first country I want to see. Unfortunately, my European experience so far has just been 3 English-speaking countries. So I've done England, Ireland, and Scotland, and would love to go back to 2 out of 3 of those. That's for sure.
Those are on my bucket list.
All right.
I've flown over them and around them.
Fair enough.
But never stopped.
Fair enough.
No, I was very lucky to have a cousin that was much older than me, and her daughter was a year younger than me, so she and I were closer to siblings.
Cool.
And she was an international professor, and she taught at the women's college in Abu Dhabi. So my senior year of high school, my graduation present was a flight to the Middle East for 2 weeks, and then the next summer is when I met them in Italy. So thanks Mama Susan, as I'll call you.
There you go.
But if it weren't for her, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have gotten to experience at an age where it actually is, you're young enough for it to really make an impression.
So cool. That's amazing.
So sports, we're also sports guys, because we do all kinds of stuff.
Yes, indeed.
I'm also love to find out that you're a fellow Red Sox fan. I grew up a Red Sox fan. I love the Braves, but I grew up a Red Sox fan.
That's fantastic.
I had a poster of Nomar on my wall.
Awesome. And I served his wife a beer at a pub in Chapel Hill when I was in B school. So how about that?
Well, because dang, who did he marry? He married a soccer player.
Mia.
Yep.
Yes.
And then I don't think Yale played with her, but I knew a girl named Yale Averbuch who played on a couple of the national championship teams. I actually wrote sports articles with her boyfriend, now husband,
cool.
years ago.
Yeah, I think we're a few years apart, my man.
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit, but that's not bad.
But now I know you still appreciate some Tar Heel basketball.
Oh, big time.
I've been blessed and lucky enough that the company I work for, the president of our company, is friends with Coach Daugherty, and he actually did a sales class with myself and a bunch of our coworkers last year, and he's in the office every now and then. It's kind of cool to know somebody like that by name and be known by name back.
Gosh, yeah, amazing.
So it's like he just walks through and you feel Tar Heel glory.
That's right.
When he's there.
I was lucky enough for when I was there 92 to 94 at Keenan Flagler, and so I was there for the 93 championship against the Fab Five, and
there it is.
Greatest night of my life, without question. Franklin Street was ablaze, and it was the best all-nighter in college I ever spent. So it was just a fantastic night. We'll never forget that.
No, I love me some Chapel Hill. My sister and brother-in-law actually live in Carborough, right outside of there.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law went to Chapel Hill.
Awesome.
And my sister and my niece, in order to go to as many basketball games as possible, used to be on the program team for probably a decade. So they saw so many good games between, let's say, early 2000s, late 90s to early mid-2000s.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they had a good old time. And anytime there was one that had great highlights, they're like, "Hey, make sure you watch the game." I'm like, "I bet my seats won't be as good as yours."
Right on. Oh man, yeah, that was Roy's golden days, right?
Oh yeah,
absolutely. There's some great teams there.
And my brother-in-law, unfortunately, was also a Yankees fan.
Okay.
And his favorite prank he ever pulled on me, I would say to this day, God rest his soul, he actually passed away in January.
Sorry.
But he and my sister went to Denver to watch the Red Sox and the Rockies play. And he mailed me a program from the game just to really needle me. Now, it's a great souvenir, but I was like, really? You fly halfway across, like you literally fly more than halfway across the country to watch my team who you constantly root against?
Amazing.
Come on now.
That's brotherly love, though, at its best.
That is brotherly love at its best. So I did see somebody clinched a division today. I saw a notification a little bit ago.
Yeah. It's got. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Yankees-Dodgers. It's got to be one of those two, I would assume.
The Dodgers have a history of the old chokety-choke joke.
I kind of hope you're right. Because I kind of
at least here lately,
the small market teams. If my Sox aren't in there, then I'm rooting for the. And it's funny, I guess I started rooting for the Braves, honestly, when, as far as I didn't really have a National League team. Growing up in the Midwest, there were Cubby fans, but I was just never there. But when I was down here in the 90s, TBS in Atlanta was the only game in town, so I just became a Braves fan. That was a heck of a time with Bobby Cox and the boys to start following them in the National League. But and I guess they were a Boston team too, so there's that.
Because they were the Boston Braves, then they were the Milwaukee Braves,
before
then they were the Atlanta Braves, and it was Milwaukee. It was the Brewers who clinched today, which you talked about. Small market
that's
teams.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so
good.
they won the National League Central.
Well, and I just love their name too because it rings true of one of our favorite beverages. So,
absolutely,
those Brewers. Can you drink to that?
I can drink to that.
Outstanding. Likewise.
Trying to see. So yeah, definitely the West is. Hell, it's still kind of wide open though. The Dodgers are what, 89 games. San Diego 86. Arizona 84. So what's wild card look like?
It's got to be tight. That's right. The Padres are finally, and both the Dodgers and Padres have some of our ex players too. So you got bit.
So yeah, let's see. San Diego's pretty much dead on for the wild card. Arizona and the Mets are right there with it too. Then American League. I mean, I could do with the Orioles going deep in the playoffs.
I agree. Over those Bronx.
It's way overdue.
Yeah,
it doesn't help that they've been 3-7 their last 10 though. That don't help none. But
not exactly finishing strong.
No, but it's definitely about baseball playoff season, which there's nothing better than playoff baseball.
That's absolutely true. It's when I focus as a fan, anyway.
So, any other sports? Formula One guy? I know you're a golf guy. I'm a Formula One guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's funny. Growing again, being a Hoosier, I went to the Indy 500.
Nice.
Probably 5 or 6 different times. Mostly in the infield, in high school. Brought back my dad's Chevy Nova one time with so many dents and a broken passenger door window. It was, so there was some ugliness too. I mean, but I had some great times with high school friends, and then bring, folks would, some of my friends from college would come in for Memorial Day weekend to head down a couple of years. But so I mean, that was, when I was growing up, it was Rick Mears and AJ Foyt, Bobby and Al Unser. Those were the big names, and and then once I kind of left, that just kind of left me. And then, fast forward about 20 years or so, and my sister and brother-in-law lived in Mooresville, and I kind of became, I started following NASCAR a bit because they were in a cul-de-sac that had, Jeremy Mayfield's crew chief across the street, and Mark Martin's nephew lived next door, and that, the other. So, but then, then NASCAR's just changed so darn much. It just doesn't feel like the
anymore.
Same.
I honestly, I hate it now.
It's almost like turning the NFL to flag football. I mean, that's what it feels like.
It's just is.
It just. So that's that's kind of it. I really, and the nice thing about moving back down south is NCAA football is just so big down here that I've in the last 3 years being back down here, I've just become a big fan again. So Saturdays aren't quite as important to me as Sundays because I'm still a bigger NFL fan, but absolutely love it. So.
Now, who's your main college team you're watching? You an Ohio State guy because you're from the Midwest?
Well, I like from a Big Ten guy. I mean, because Indiana and Purdue generally stink.
Yep.
I definitely am not a Michigan fan, so I'm definitely Ohio State over Michigan. But I honestly, I like Michigan State also, who they've had a couple of decent teams. Yeah, I like the Sparties. They're definitely I would say they're probably my favorite Big Ten team in both football and basketball. But honestly, even though the Heels are a basketball school, love that we started 3-0 so far this year. I know we're kind of patched together at quarterback.
They've really
right now,
been working on the football program. I'll give them that.
Yeah,
it's been a labor of figuring it out over the last 2 decades.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's just fun. And even though I was, grew up in, as a Catholic in Northern Indiana, I am not a Notre Dame fan, and I thoroughly enjoyed Northern Illinois upsetting them the weekend before last. So, and I may or may not have won a little money on good old NI too. And ironically, the coach for Northern Illinois went to my high school in Fort Wayne. So,
nice.
kind of wild. So anyway. Yeah, found that out on the day.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So I know you got family in Lake Norman as well. So I know you love spending some time on the water. I do too. Don't have a boat or anything, but we pack a cooler with the best of them, and somehow usually find our way somewhere if we go chasing something on the lake. But
so Rhydon, I have the best of both worlds because I do not own any watercraft myself. but my sister and brother-in-law live on the lake in Denver.
Perfect.
And they have the tri-tune, jet ski, 2 kayaks. Like to go out in the morning in the kayak, come back for a bloody or little Bailey's coffee, and then kind of get ready for the day. But yeah, we usually pack it up, find the right spot to anchor, grab a couple noodles and throw on some music and float. So
we went out to we used to go out to Dog Island a bit for a couple of years when we were out over that way in Denver.
So you can see Dog Island from literally when you leave their cove or there. Yeah, you can see Dog Island. That is the first place we pass every time. So
that's funny.
I know it well.
That's too funny. Trade crew contractors, are y'all looking for a line of ductless products that are as reliable as your craftsmanship? Then the Bosch Climate 5000 Generation 3 range of inverter ductless mini splits has got your back. With their sleek design and compact size, these mini splits are a breeze to install, even in tight spaces. You'll love how quick and hassle-free their setup is. Less time on the job means more satisfied customers, more jobs in the pipeline, and more profit to your company's bottom line. And don't worry about callbacks. This system is built Bosch tough, with dependable performance that keeps your clients comfortable year-round. Get the job done right the first time with the Bosch Climate 5000 Generation 3 of ductless inverter mini splits. The systems that work as hard as you do. Reach out to Insight Partners in the Carolinas and Georgia, or visit the HVAC R&D Vendor Hub and click on the Bosch logo to view all of their products and search for a distributor in your market today. And now, back to the show. So, how on earth did you go from Harvard history guy, to Keenan Flagler business guy, but somehow end up in HVAC? Could you not have found a more lucrative side to be in? I mean, really?
So, no. It's funny. It's kind of funny. I think just no, that's a great call. I mean, I have friends that are senators and CEOs and this, that, and the other. And, quite frankly, I being in sales and marketing my whole life, I chose a path that wasn't terribly lucrative, but one that I enjoyed. And I actually, there was even an HR guy back so Frito-Lay was one of the companies I worked for. So a lot of my experience was in food marketing, which is why I like my food and beer so much. But he tried to kind of put me in my place one time, Rhydon, and he was he said, "You know what, Ineman?" He goes, "You're more Hoosier than Harvard." And he thought he was going to put me back in my place. And I looked at him and I said, "You know what, Mark? That's the greatest compliment anybody has ever paid me." And I mean that because, I think people had the perception of Harvard people being snobs. And that just meant, his perception was, hey, I'm still the same guy I was growing up. So at any rate, so I've had, most of my jobs, like I said, have been in food. When I got an internship with Frito-Lay when I was at Carolina, that turned into a full-time job. So the wife and I moved down to the Dallas area and had 4 years in Dallas and then a couple of years on the sales side up in Michigan. But my big claim to fame was that I led the team that launched spicy nacho Doritos. So every time you pick one of those bags up,
that's awesome.
You can pick me. And the black and red colors on them are my high school colors. So that's the one, my one little trademark or footprint I had on there. So, but I kind of, moved around. I had arguably a dream job outside of this current one with soft spikes, a golf shoe that made the plastic cleats for golf shoes. That was right after Frito. But that was an awesome 2-year gig. Yeah.
The one that's coming after that, I completely forgot to build this into the questions.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got to tell me about life at Zatarain's. Because my father was born and raised in New Orleans, and I grew up, and to this day, there is no better mustard than Zatarain's mustard. Period. Hands down, it is the greatest mustard ever. I have friends in Canada that I mail it to now because they can't get enough of it.
Where do you find it, Rhydon? Where do you find it locally, or do you have some?
So for a little while, I could actually get it at Harris Teeter's here.
Ooh, okay.
And when I would find it, I would buy like all 8 jars of it they had. and I would hoard them.
It was an awesome company to work for. So on the West Bank, Gretna, I lived down in the warehouse district when I worked for them, and I actually launched the frozen food entrees for them. So
dude, that freaking blackened chicken pasta was the shit in college.
Hell yeah, blackened chicken Alfredo, baby. That was my favorite. That and the red beans
jambalaya
and rice
was good
with
too.
Sausage. Yeah,
yep,
good jambalaya. So that was, and here was the awesome thing about that job. They fed us every day. We had between the plant, or we had the DC and the office together. There were probably 60 of us, so we came in shifts of 30, and every day they laid out some amazing Cajun meal for us. With Fridays, they then just regressed to a sandwich bar with their awesome mustard. So I mean, that was my favorite part of the job. It fed us every day.
I don't really feel like that's a downgrade, but
no, right? Not at all. Exactly. So that was a great experience. That was very fun to live in New Orleans for a couple of years before Katrina.
Turn up the heat in your kitchen, trade crew, using Cajun Joe's Bayou Spice, the original blend that brings the bold, authentic flavors of the Bayou straight to your table. Perfect for grilling, sautéing, low country boiling, or seasoning any dish, Cajun Joe's adds the perfect kick of heat and spice. Whether it's seafood, chicken, gator, beef, pork, veggies, or more, you'll love how this blend transforms your meals. Ready to take your cooking to the next level? Grab your jar today in the HVAC R&D swag shop. Just visit hvacrnd.com and spice up your life with Cajun Joe's Bayou Spice. And now, back to the show. Well, I was going to say, at one point, way too early in the existence of this show, I tried to become a Zatarain's ambassador.
Okay.
But I had no traffic. But I tried because I was like, there's got to be a market for a podcast to sneak their way into like a food partnership. There has to be. I was like, we talk about HVAC, beer, and food.
Absolutely.
Perfect. But no, when I saw that, I can't believe I forgot to put that in the notes. When I saw that, I was like, oh, we have to talk about this.
Yeah. No, great company, and honestly, family-run company, just like my current one, which you just don't find anymore. And it was great. But actually, when I left, they sold to McCormick's, so that's why they're really not a New Orleans-based company anymore. So anyway, great memories. Thanks.
No, we have to. So beyond that, you continue and you go to Birdseye, Yankee Candle. Mm-hmm. That's an interesting one. Like you've worked for some big names. I was like, for people that aren't looking through the resume with me as we're having these conversations.
Oh, no problem.
Old Dennis has made his rounds, and it's impressive.
Yeah, I took the Yankee Candle job to move closer to my kids. My ex and I had split, and we have two sons, so they're now 27 and 24. But at the time, I wanted to move closer. The year I was in New Orleans, I only saw them about 7 times that year. So I moved up to Western Mass, and I was only 2 hours away there in the Albany area, and still are relatively close to that area. But at any rate, that was a cool opportunity because it was Yankees' first M&A they did. They bought a fundraising company, and so my job was leading the team that sold instead of like schools selling candy or magazines to raise money. We had a program that sold candles, and so
I've seen those before too.
Yeah. So that school program was, it was primarily schools that we went after and other nonprofits, that needed to raise money, but build it into a decent sized business in the 4 years I was there. So, so it was pretty fun.
Now you continued through kind of food and beverage. Now, I guess aside the fact that we love food and beverage, yes. what was your favorite thing about, developing product and brands in that line of work, and how did you take that and transition it to HVAC? Like, where did you find the correlation of where you move that over?
No, that's a great question. And I think, it started first with the soft spikes job and trying to, kind of take my Frito-Lay experience and try to sell plastic golf cleats. And I realized, there's a lot of similarities. Even though, one product is for golf, one product is for HVAC, the tape and the cleats are still consumable items, right? That people have a choice in what they want to purchase. And so as you develop a plan to differentiate your product or to give it a special spin, those same skills translate from industry to industry. It's really the more technical aspects that one needs to learn when they get there. And, I'm not going to lie, my 2-year anniversary at Shurtape is next week. Actually, it's this Saturday. I am absolutely learning more, every day that I'm there, but I sure know a heck of a lot more today than I did 18 months ago, and, so I think that the skills are more translatable than one might think.
Well, and you got into automotive too. So, I think that kind of started transitioning you into more blue collar side of things, I would guess.
Yeah.
But what would you say were kind of your main learning curves, transitioning into, automotive and into the trades as well from more of a food industry focus?
Yeah. I think, you just develop different skills along the way. And I think, I always had an appreciation for the manufacturing aspects of what we produced, both on the food side as well as, on the automotive side. And I think that is really, and that appreciation and trying to gain that knowledge and spending time with the people that work at that level, I think made me realize where the rubber truly hits the road is when, in the production of the items. And I think that kind of got me, kind of moved over that way. And also, I got to tell you, and maybe it's the Hoosier to Harvard thing. Quite frankly, my time at Friendly's, my group that I was friends with weren't the folks in the ivory tower, but the folks that worked on the front line and, custodial and our maintenance guys. Those are my best friends for life. So, I guess
but those are the guys you see every day. Yeah, those
right.
are the guys you see every day too. So it's hard to not become friends with those people that, and when you came from, that different background, you appreciated it because you knew what it was like to have kind of been that person or seen that person or been in the same frame of influence as that kind of person too.
Yeah, right. And yeah, to that point, it was funny because, I was the outlier, right? But yet they appreciated, and these are people that are just sincere. I had more in common with, and they're truly my friends for life. And the only thing I miss about Massachusetts is that group of friends. But fortunately, we still get together for our annual Myrtle golf trip and a few times a year, just, meet wherever we can. So
you don't miss the delightful weather? What?
Now, you might have just hit on the primary reason I moved back down here, sir.
So,
yes.
A bit of a loaded question.
Sure.
But, because of your background, how important do you think the versatility of your career development has been now that you're on the HVAC side? Because you've done so many different things, how does having that non-technical background help you build a brand that's really technically focused on technical people?
Right. I think that the key is, and I think the reason that the people at Shurtape brought me on board is to have maybe a different perspective, right? And to and to have that uniqueness. But versatility is key, and I think anybody early in their career, heck, I don't even think early, middle, or late in your career, if you aren't able to adapt, then you're gonna get left behind. And I think it's absolutely crucial that you try to find the knowledgeable people in the new role that you're in. Find the ones that have the patience to teach you the technical side, and truly listen and write down and learn and remember. So kind of get back to history again. That's really what it's about. And again, the more you're around it, the more that you use it, the more that you're with people that use it and talk to them. That's how you learn the technical side.
Well, and a good friend of the show, Mr. Grayson Turner, I'll give him a shout out. Haven't in a while. Nice. He coined a phrase that I've even got it stitched on the side of some of our shirts, and I've got it, used with some of our logos. But it's evolve or dissolve. And I think that sums up the HVAC industry as a whole. Especially, it's changed so much so fast in the last decade. It's going to change so much more in the next decade. Hell, in the next 3 to 5 years, we have change after change after change, just getting crammed down our throats. So I always love this kind of question, but if you could go back and give your younger self, starting out at Frito-Lay, what would it have been? What advice would you have given your younger self then?
Well, I'm going to go back even further than that, because it's something that I've, and this isn't an opinion that I even gained since I've been at Shurtape, or that I've kind of been more on, this industrial or, more technical side of things, but I would literally want to learn a trade. And the reason for that is because I think it's more important today than ever before. And I agree with that. And here's why: because folks in the trade are already out earning their peers in white collar jobs. And I see that disparity just growing in years to come, because the demand for HVAC is going to keep going up and the supply of techs are going to go down. And
they're already going down.
Right on. And it's just simple supply and demand. And I tried pushing my kids that way. And my oldest is still kind of leaning. His uncle has an HVAC business out in Fresno, and he's tight with his cousin who's going to take over his uncle's business. I mean, if he ever falls flat on his face, I think he may just head out there and learn it, and I'd be all for it. So that is really, I cannot emphasize that enough. And I mean, I've been preaching that probably 7-8 years. So well before I got into this industry even.
Love it. Completely agree. And I know what the people behind this episode are really waiting for is when we're actually going to talk about Shurtape. What's up, trade crew? Are you tired of playing microfarad hide and seek with your service truck inventory? I think it's time that you tested out the Turbo 200 family from AMRAD Manufacturing and Global Source, where efficiency meets durability and finding the right capacitor is never a game of chance. With the Turbo family of universal capacitors, you're not just getting any regular capacitor. No. You're getting the HVAC industry's version of a superhero cape. Reliable, efficient, ready to save the day, these ruggedly tested, made in the USA capacitors are prepared for whatever you run into during your service calls. These truly unique and industry-changing universal capacitors allow you to replace over 200 individual sizes with just their 4 models: the Turbo 200, Turbo 200X, Turbo Mini, and Turbo Mini Oval. And did I mention they have a 5-year warranty? Seriously, what are you waiting for? Do the math and upgrade your truck stock setup today, because the Turbo family has got you covered. Visit the HVAC R&D Vendor Hub and click on the Global Source link to request training from a local account executive in your market. Easy peasy. AMRAD Manufacturing, where performance meets perfection. Because in the world of HVAC, good enough isn't in our vocabulary. It's turbo or nothing. And now, back to the show.
All right.
So, for those of our listeners who aren't familiar with Shurtape, which would be hard for me to imagine in this industry, but it's possible. I love Shurtape. I've used it my entire career. I used it in my dad's business. I sell it on a day-to-day basis. It is an amazing product. It's an amazing brand. But a lot of people don't really know the history of it. I love that it's a North Carolina brand, which also really helps me, sell it. I'm a big fan of selling products that are made in the state or the states adjacent.
Yes.
On purpose. Because I think it's good to give back to the companies or giving back to your state.
Yep.
Can you kind of give us a bit of an overview, some company history, and some of the roles that Shurtape plays in HVAC and other industries with their tapes?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, putting the history geek back on again. I mean, we're a family-owned North Carolina-based company that started in the 1880s as a textile company, and we're fifth generation. Stephen Shuford is our current chairman and still very active in our business, an amazing guy. And so they've, literally been involved since the start. We shifted to tape or what we like to call pressure sensitive adhesives, because we have to be fancy with the term tape. But we switched that in 55. And really we design, develop, manufacture, market best in class tapes that, and to meet the demands of the industries we serve. And we're focused today on our HVAC tapes, but we've got, you're probably familiar with our Duck brand, our Frog Tape brand, T-Rex, besides the Shurtape brand. But
my wife has a roll of T-Rex in her purse.
Oh, good. That stuff's amazing. I think we've hit the Guinness Book of World Records with that on some of that T-Rex tape. But so one of my favorite lines from HVAC, and they haven't quite bought into it yet, but from meeting code to taking on the cold, we help you seal with confidence. So that's, that's what, so that's really, what we're about. And, and I got to tell you, we're experts in tape. We're not experts in HVAC systems. We leave that to the people who, who are experts, and we try to create new products and innovate around our existing items, based on conversations we have with them. And, we've got a wide view of the market. We introduce products that, try to make the job easier for the HVAC techs that are out there.
Well, and we definitely know tapes are essential to every HVAC system, but not everybody necessarily realizes the importance of the right tape. So what makes tape such a critical component to an HVAC system? Primarily, in most cases, it ends up being a duct system. But
yeah, fair.
You also have, connection between furnace, coils, other things as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so tape helps ensure full system closure, right? So as an HVAC, product manager, that's what I'm trying to get to is guaranteeing that full system closure. Do the job right the first time. It's going to lead to customer satisfaction. If it's fully sealed, this is my Shrek line, keeps the good air in, bad air out. And I mean, that's truly the key. And it's also full system closure is the mark of a good HVAC technician, because that will lead to good word of mouth with the customers. Got to make sure that all the spots in the system where a leak could occur are identified and addressed, and choosing the right tape is really the key part of that.
Speaking of choosing the right tape, how do you guys help guide technicians? And I'll also say I'll back that up a little bit, because I'm on the distribution side. So in a lot of cases, your team is educating my team to then go educate contractors, said team.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So with so many different kinds of tape, how do you guide the distributors to help have the right tape on hand that's necessary for these technicians in the right application?
There's a number of things that you got to think about when it comes to tape and choosing the right tape. And the first one and this is again really kind of down the HVAC line. I can go into others as well, but first question is code compliance. And again, it varies a bit from region to region on if there's a UL 181A or B requirement for that specific job. Be it a new construction or a change out. And so that's first. Okay. And then we get into the more, kind of practical aspects. What's the application surface? The different surfaces and textures require different tapes to achieve the right seal. What are the environmental conditions? The temp, the humidity, the cleanliness of the area, all of those things can impact how easily the tape adheres. And then key part is the actual application technique itself. So the reason that we, tape geeks call them pressure sensitive adhesives is that's exactly what you need to do. You need to make sure that you exert some sort of force to bond them to the surface. And that's why, squeegees are your friend, right? Squeegees are a very important tool, when you're using it. So that's that. Those are kind of my 4 keys, I think, to picking the right tape.
What's your most popular HVAC tape? Is it 181? Well, 181 is the wrong term. Excuse me. There's a lot of things that are UL 181, but DC 181 flex tape is one. But
right on. Yeah.
What would you say is probably y'all's most popular tape? DC 181 or AF foil or scrim tape or even Massey tape, so SF 686.
Right.
What's number
I love
one?
that. Man, we can definitely pay a commission for all that right now. But
that's what I'm here for.
Our AF99, AF100, those are essentially the exact same tape, is our Rolls Royce, and that literally is our best selling and most popular tape. I mean, that's the one. It's UL 181A and B, and basically once somebody passes UL 181A, they've already passed the B section because of the stringency of the testing. But that's our AF100 is made in the U.S. It's made here in Hickory. It's UL listed foil printed tape. You can literally use it for everything. Joining, sealing joints, connections, rigid fiberglass. It can be used to repair metal and sheet metal. It's that strong. It's temporary fixes for outdoor electrical boxes, sheet metal ventilation fan, exhaust duct work, bath fan installs and replacements. It could literally be used with anything. And because we use a solvent acrylic adhesive, that it can handle the extreme fluctuations in temperature, minus 20 to 260. So that is by far, it's our Rolls Royce and our best seller. But that's what your lead in on DC 181 was perfect, because that's second, right? And that DC 181 is a great tape. It's a 181B listing, so that one is technically for class 1 flex duct. Not to be used on metal. It could be, but again, depending on your inspector, you may not want to.
Yep.
It's and what we've recently changed on that too, and thanks to the field, thanks to our rep groups coming in and some of our contractors coming in, our DC 181 metal, which is the one that's outsells our black by 4 to 1 probably. We had black print on that metallized film, and some folks were saying, "Hey, why wouldn't you make that red print so we can, it's just easier for the inspectors? They're looking for red letter tape."
That's true.
And so we just released that this summer, actually. So we just, it's funny, right? And simple is just changing the coloring on the on the letters, and sales are already showing that people prefer it. So that was kind of an easy fix.
And see, I didn't know that had happened.
Yeah, you may not have even seen it in the marketplace yet, because we really just started shipping it in right around 4th of July. Yeah, yep. So
now, is it changing on the? Is it just an automatic change? You don't have to order it differently for it to be red writing?
Correct. Same item numbers, same everything, and the only thing we changed was literally just the print.
I'm so curious,
the film.
I just ordered a pallet of tape from you guys last week. I'm so curious if one of those is going to show up in it.
Well, it doesn't let me know. I'll make sure I get you a few cases.
Nice.
Absolutely. So yeah, and that one's great because it's the nice thing about the 181. It's kind of quick stick, so it's got that initial tack that some of our the acrylic adhesives may not, but you get twice as much tape for the same price. That's the other nice thing. It's really very conformable to uneven surfaces. DC 181 is, like I said, it's a great all-purpose tape. It's just if you need that 181A, then
yeah. Well, and I grew up before our flex style tape came out in any brand.
Right. Yep.
So I grew up using, was it 557 and PC 857 were the main ones I used, and I still stock 857 because there's still some diehards that love that stuff.
857 is in our top 5, brother. So
dude,
that's still a great.
It is stout. But how much have you seen? This is a weird way to say it, but have you seen a huge decline in the cloth style duct tape because of the newer metallized version of film?
It's interesting that you asked that. I would say not necessarily. And we recently made a change to our duct tapes. We kind of made a move from our Shurtape brand to Duck Pro brand. We think that, the Duck brand kind of resonates more for from a duct tape standpoint. And that kind of gave us a nice little bump. We have narrowed down our selection a little bit, but I think overall we haven't really seen it that significant of a decline. I mean, to your point, there's
it a market by market thing, maybe?
Yeah, yes, it truly is, because again, it comes down to how stringent the requirements are on needing that 181A foil tape. But PC 857 is a 181B. So, again, you still have that UL rating if that's all that's needed. So
now do the cloth ones perform better in certain environments? I guess, would that be part of it? Is it a better cold climate than the metallized film?
It's
or
actually
is it really a toss-up?
Well, so that comes down, I mean, it's a combination of both the cloth versus foil, but it also comes down to your adhesive. So most of our cloth tapes have a rubber, either a synthetic or natural rubber adhesive, so your service temperature actually goes up. So the foil tapes that I was talking about before that use the acrylic adhesive have a service range of -20 to 260 Fahrenheit. Our synthetic rubber tapes, so like the cloth tapes we're talking about now, start at about 40 degrees Fahrenheit up to about 200. So that's where, so it's actually, cloth is used if you need that initial tack. It's the rubber really is just much more tacky and sticky, if you will. I mean, just to try to, and so that's the advantage that some people prefer is having that piece, just that initial tack being much stronger.
Sorry, give me one second. No I gotta grab a dog.
It's all good.
Trey Grew contractors, when you need a system that balances performance with affordability, Bosch IDS Lite delivers. Offering up to 16 SEER2 and 9 HSPF2, these systems ensure optimal comfort while maximizing energy efficiency. With whisper quiet operation, the IDS Lite's inverter heat pumps and matching air handler or dual fuel options are perfect for homeowners who want comfort without the noise. Plus, your customers will love how much they save on their energy bills thanks to Bosch's variable speed capacity technology. It's a win for you and your customers. And let's be honest, who doesn't like winning? Bosch IDS Lite, the ideal choice for contractors who want the job done right the first time. Available now at Inside Partners in the Carolinas, and if you're looking for your local distributor, check out the resources through the Bosch link in the HVACRD.com vendor hub. And now, back to the show. Sorry about that.
It's all good, my friend.
15-week-old and 3-year-old were playing tug of war with the wrong thing.
Fair enough. I hope it wasn't anybody's undergarments or anything. Anyway, all right.
No undergarments in the office, unfortunately.
Outstanding.
I could not get the wife to show up as an naughty secretary today. Dang it. That's for the after hours part of the show.
Gotcha.
So, we've covered some of this, and you're talking about kind of the pluses or minuses of certain ones. But are there any?
Sure.
Are there any common mistakes that with tape selection that you guys get a phone call from a rep like, well, this contractor thought that, but it really isn't working? Is it y'all's fault or is it his fault? Do you get any blowback questions like that, trying to blame the tape?
Yeah, we do. And and there's times that people maybe aren't using the right tape for the reason that it's, or for what it's made to do. So our HVAC tapes are made to seal, right? And it's really to seal between spaces, if you will. Getting back to the mastic tapes, the SF 685 and 686, like those are used to seal plenums, against your flex duct and that type of thing. What we've had recently is actually somebody using our AF984, our FSK tape, to essentially try to support flex duct almost like a shelf.
Really?
Versus, and it wasn't even really sealing, two pieces of duct or duct to metal, or it wasn't used in the right way, and they were upset with us because it wasn't supporting the duct in the manner they were looking to, but it was absolutely misused. So there's times that people will come back to us and it's like, well, sir, actually look at what it's supposed to be used for. That's not really what it's used for. And then the other piece, quite frankly, is whether or not it comes back to the stuff we talked about before. You need to have the right tape for the right job. And do you need a 181A? Do you need a 181B? Depending on the type of thing that you're using it for. So I don't want to say that we're never wrong, but we are so thorough at Shurtape with the way that we test and field test our products that if it's in writing, if it's on our technical data sheets, then it will perform the applications that it's meant to perform. I mean, that I feel very strongly about. We have a very strong engineering team and research and development team that puts a great deal of effort into that. And honestly, is always looking for the next best thing, be it from a backing standpoint or from an adhesive standpoint.
Well, and talking about, rigorous field tests without giving away proprietary information.
Sure.
Can you give kind of some examples of something that you would do? Like, let's say you're coming out with a new tape. How long do you test it in the field, or how do you choose where it gets tested in the field? Or do you literally test it, in every single state or wherever else you sell stuff? How do you decide where you test it and for how long?
So we start with, and hopefully I'm not giving away too many trade secrets, but within our research and development testing center, we have a number of different ways that we can replicate conditions in the field that will allow us to test the extreme cold, the extreme heat and humidity, because that's another big piece. It's not just heat, it's not just the temperature, but it's the humidity piece as well. That's very important. And then once it passes, kind of through our internal testing, we try to test in kind of the most extreme environments. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan to, the most humid part of Houston and Orlando we can find, to Arizona, for extreme heat. So we don't necessarily test in all 50, but we do a good representative sample of the most extreme conditions that are out in the field. Like I said, first internally, and we don't even send that tape out to the field until it's passed, our very rigorous testing protocol. Hope I didn't put you to sleep there, Ryan.
Nope, I left myself on mute because I've done that before. It's a Teams meeting. Whoops. That's always, isn't that always the best when you're in the Teams meeting, everyone's on mute. They're like, Dennis, it's your turn. And then bop, you talk for like 5 minutes, and then everyone's like, oh, hey, you were on mute. You're like, never mind.
I know, and you just had some brilliant point that you wouldn't be able to repeat again. Exactly.
Well, I'm going to try.
I feel you. Okay, good. I'm sure you will.
Industry focus being on energy efficiency, airtight systems, and continuing to go that way. As we're talking about research and development here, how does that, trend towards energy efficiency and also, the trend towards sustainability, in quotations, how is that also developing or influencing the development of your tapes as well as being environmentally responsible with your products?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And
it's probably a loaded question, loaded gun
question.
It
is a bit of a loaded question.
Careful.
And, right. So as you know, we sell a lot more than HVAC tapes, right? So we sell, duct tapes, masking tape, and packaging tape are really the other three very large areas that we are, that we sell a lot in. So, so on the HVAC side, the fact is that we develop our products to always be as efficient and airtight as possible. But as far as looking at how we can, really have sustainability be a goal of what we're doing, it's a little more of a challenge, quite frankly, on the foil side than it is on others. One thing we are testing right now, most of our acrylic adhesives, which is what we use on all of our foil tapes, is a solvent-based acrylic, and we're starting to test water-based acrylic tapes. So that is one move towards, kind of making our manufacturing facilities a little cleaner than having a lot of, just chemicals in there versus having a water-based acrylic, versus the solvent-based. So that's one step that we can do with an HVAC. But on our packaging side, they have, because it's more of a paper backing, right, that they're using, they've got a much closer path to getting, to a sustainable tape, and we're launching a curbside recyclable packaging tape right now.
Nice.
Which is really nice. I mean, it's funny because I think a lot of us throw our boxes out from Amazon or wherever, and toss them in recycling, not even really realizing that the tape that's on there is probably not recyclable, right? The tape should be going in the garbage.
And you say that. Say that. I've never even thought about that. Like, it's cardboard. They're going in the recycling bin. Let me just break it down and put it in there so the city's happy with me and they'll take it away.
Right.
But no, I never even thought about the fact that the tape's probably not biodegradable or recyclable.
Right. But that's something we're focused on the packaging side. And, honestly, Rhydon, I hope we can get there someday on HVAC. I just don't know. The path is a little more challenging. Yeah.
With the type of product, I completely agree with that. But I think it's also important that, people hear you guys are giving it, the best college try, as you would say.
Absolutely.
But it's, all of us are straddling that line, and how do we make things more efficient, or how do we make it more environmentally responsible? So I love all this info. This has been actually really fun.
Cool.
So where aside from tuning in to this amazing episode,
indeed,
where is a great place for resources where technicians, contractors, and even distributors can go and learn about your various tapes, and how can they get support from the appropriate sales representative for choosing the right products? Is the best place to go Shurtape.com, or what's really the best path for that? So
I've got a couple different ways of answering that. I mean, number one, we're very active at AHR every year and other regional HVAC shows. We've got great coverage around the country, not only with our sales team, but with our rep groups and distributors that we go through. But to really fully answer your question, and it's really, quite frankly, it's almost it's similar, I should say, to, the professionals and the end users or DIYers. And, Shurtape.com is your first stop, right? It's a full list of products that we have.
Yep.
But the other is we have our separate URL, tapeuniversity.com. And I'm not sure if you've been on there.
No, I've never even heard of this. This is awesome. We need to talk about that after the show too.
Cool. So tapeuniversity.com is a separate URL. Obviously, you'll find it on Shurtape.com. But you go on there and you can pop in darn near any question you have around what's the best HVAC tape to use? What if I need UL? And at any rate, there's a series of different kind of training videos on there and that kind of thing that walks you through the different ways of using it. And then our YouTube and Instagram handles are both at Shurtape Industrial. So I guess @ made me really old, didn't it?
No, it did not.
Yes. Okay. But yes, but tapeuniversity.com is something that's unique to us, and I think it's a great tool for beginners and veterans alike to use if they've got questions.
I really appreciate that. We're definitely going to talk about that after the show, because I think we need to get that into the vendor hub.
Okay.
Because I think that would be a great resource for people.
Okay.
I kind of want to start rolling into the last part of the show, which is sponsored by Bosch Home Comfort. Thank you, Bosch, for all of your support with a lot of things this show has been able to do in the last year. They've become kind of the title sponsor for a segment I like to call Give More in 2024. I have to figure out what to rename it next year, but it still rhymes right now really great. So what does Shurtape do to give back to the HVAC and trade communities? Are there any local, regional, national initiatives that you guys, do you partner with some trade schools? Is there anything that you do to kind of give back and help grow the community outside of developing a great product?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things just since I've been on board that I was able to kind of initiate, another one was able to continue. But we have a once a semester visit to CVCC, so Catawba Valley Community College, which is right down the road from our headquarters, to speak to the HVAC tech students. We kind of demonstrate our different types of tape, and we bring not only HVAC tapes, but we let the Frog folks come along and show their cool tapes for painting and that kind of thing as well. And we really get the students kind of engaged, have them. We bring, some flex and some plenums and some, for them to kind of use it as well. And then leave them with a nice little starter kit to head out for their apprenticeships or jobs. So that's something that's really fun. And I taught at the community college level up in Massachusetts, and it's kind of fun to get back to that setting, because I think community colleges are just a great way of getting your foot in the door out in the marketplace. But at any rate, so that's one. And then last winter we had an opportunity to work with a couple, Chris Walters and Jen Barta in Texas, and it's called HVAC Training On-Site Van. So they basically go around, do road shows, mostly on weekends, but for training, new and up and coming HVAC professionals. And they either go to like a distributor parking lot or trade school parking lot, that kind of thing. So we're a primary sponsor with them. They obviously have a series of different sponsors, but we're their exclusive tape sponsor. And that's just been a really good opportunity to, I was able to visit last February, and, just to visit with the folks that are using our tapes and get some feedback from them as well. So those are two things that we do at that level.
Do you do anything additionally personally to give back to the trade community? And, what advice would you give to others that are looking to foster the growth of the next generation of our tradespeople?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Rhydon, I think it's a lot of things that we talked about already. I mean, it's it's understanding how important, a profession in HVAC is today, and how much more in demand it's going to be in the future. We need to constantly look for new ways to help educate, those people on not only what the right tape is, but just on, what the right professional demeanor is and that kind of thing. And I hate to kind of go back there, but Tape University, we feel like is a great place for folks to start, right? To really understand how to use the tape in the right way and that kind of thing. And again, I'm hoping that I can actually play a bigger part in our partnership with CVCC, and provide whatever kind of guidance and professional advice I can to the students there.
Well, and it's where I work at Insight. We've done several things with community colleges, with the Urban League. So if that's something that outside of this you'd like to have a conversation with, let's definitely have that as well.
Okay, great. No, appreciate.
And then, as an industry leader, on a true personal professional, side, what advice would you give someone that's just starting in HVAC or even in product management? What's some just solid professional advice that you think any of those guys need to know, or gals?
Yeah, on the HVAC side, I mean, I think it's really being patient and being flexible, and understanding that when you make the calls, there's going to be people that will want to understand what's going on, and you may be in a hurry to get that job done, but being able to explain to them what you did to their system, and I think just goes a long way. I think that's something that I would always say is one of the things. I feel like I may have even heard it on one of your podcasts, but being in a sales role, having the heart of a teacher in that sales or marketing role, and I almost feel like that same thing is important even as an HVAC professional is have the patience and the heart of a teacher that you're out there. And then on the product management side, I think it's important to not have all your eggs in one basket. Like you can see my career, right? It's relatively colorful, from chips to candles to ice cream to golf cleats to car air filters to to tape. And so that's number one, be flexible. And the other thing I would highly recommend, and it's something that I wish I would have honed my skills even greater on, is the financial side of product management. I mean, I think as a marketer, you may feel like, the marketing piece, the 4 Ps and all that is really where it's at. But I've every day I continue to learn more about not just the pricing part of the 4 Ps, but really the P&L and understanding profitability and how you can leverage different things to save costs or provide a better price to the end user and that kind of thing. So those are kind of it's a mixed answer, I guess, but hopefully can be used on either side. So.
Well, and I'll jump in a little bit on that financial side of things, because for the longest time I've seen a lot of companies that struggle with financial management. Even my own family business at times we did growing up. But in the last I would say couple years, and even some of the last couple months, I've been so impressed by a couple of my own customers they're younger. So now I'm going to make myself sound old, even though I'm not old. But when you're late 30s, but your contractor base in some cases is guys in their early middle late 20s. I've been extremely impressed with the financial and fiscal levels of understanding and responsibility that I've seen from a couple of guys, and they've been guests on the show, and I'll name them. Taylor from Tailored Air, he was episode 107. He runs an amazing business. I think some of it is because he had great education from his father as well, who ran a hardware store for a long time. And then also the Haskell brothers, who were on the show last week, that didn't go out when it should have, so it goes out this week and you go out next week.
Awesome.
But those guys are 34 and 28, but they do such a great job. When I talk to them, they have their heads in the right place. So I think something that I used to see be a larger problem in the industry, I'm now starting to see the next generation somehow, some way, seem to have a little bit better handle on it. There's things that I wish I could give everybody a free trip through the Dave Ramsey program on this show, but I couldn't afford that. But some of those things, really learning how to manage your personal finances as you're getting into this industry, especially when you're in the early stages of it, when you're not making as much money. But, on the distribution side, you might be behind a counter, you might be in a warehouse. On the contractor side, you're the apprentice, or you're the one in the attic or the crawl space. But learning what you can and can't do with your money is massive for your professional and personal development. So I think that's something that's got to be mentioned over and over, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Couldn't agree with you more.
So starting to close, I know you've said a little bit of it before, but do you want to reiterate one more time just kind of the websites, the social handles, the right places to get a hold of you guys and be able to check out your products online?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Shurtape.com is your first stop if you're interested in our full list of products. And I think, again, can't plug this one enough, tapeuniversity.com, which is a separate URL that will literally guide people on what tape to use for the right job, and goes for HVAC and across our entire line. And then our YouTube and Instagram handles, again, are at Shurtape Industrial. So those are the best places to find us on social media and online. And, again, we look forward to seeing more people start hitting our spots.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dennis, thank you so much for taking some time to speak with me, speak with the trade crew. If you're not following HVAC R&D online, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at hvac.rnd. And you can find me as the HVAC R&D podcast on LinkedIn, Tradehounds, and Facebook. Thank you for listening to the show on your favorite platform, whether it is today. Please make sure to smash that subscribe button, like and rate the show, leave me a review, share me with your trade crew. Don't forget to check out the website hvacrnd.com and visit the swag shop. If you want to work with me, you guys know how to do that. So thank you so much for your time. Have a great week, trade crew. I'll catch you soon. Peace.